Okay, welcome everyone. We're FilmBlabber. We're a bunch of cinephiles and regular people, and we love chatting about movies.
Will be a bunch of what? What fights?
So, guys, today we are going to talk about this film Sonar Kella. Watch race cinema. This was the first time I watched this film, and to my surprise, it was very simple. And like, did you all also feel that? Did you all go in with an expectation of watching a Ray film that it'll be some next level of cinema? And this just came out to be, for me, it's like a children's film. So, what do you all think? What was your reaction?
So I had no expectations because as famous as I found out Satyajit Ray is, I did not know who he was before going in for this film.
There is
So,
a Bengali person right here with us. You cannot go on record and say that.
The name sounds very familiar, but this is the first regional film I've ever seen, and it was. So I didn't have any expectations. But from the beginning only, the movie was quite gripping. So it was like it wasn't difficult to get through it, even though I don't usually watch old films and all that. After it was over, yeah. Now that you mention it, it did feel a little like a kids movie, but I didn't think of that while I was. I mean, I like because I had no concept of what the film could be, and I had no understanding of what audience is it for or anything like that. Overall, after the film was done, I think the satisfaction was that okay, this wasn't like, I mean, when we saw Eyes Wide Shut, there were so many questions in our head. It wasn't. It was a very simple film. Like it had a very obvious plot and a very obvious end, so it left me satisfied at the end of it. Okay, I understood what happened, and I was most like into the film when the kids would come on. When both the Mukuls, the one who gets kidnapped, and they are so cute, dude.
Bro,
and they were such good actors. And I don't know why these actors are not more well known, because they were like so fucking good. And that stood out to me the most, more than the storyline also. And yeah, dude, I think it was just it was a nice, simple movie. If it would have come out during this time, it would have been that movie that we go watch, on like a Saturday night just to chill. And then we don't need to watch it again. And neither do we need to talk about it a lot. It's just a good, entertaining movie. That's it. That's what I thought.
So coming quickly to Sneha. Sneha, what did you think of the film? What did you think of us watching Satyajit Ray's Sonar Kella? Nobody's talking about Charulata.
Yeah.
I think we should give the audience like a little bit of background, Sneha. If you could just introduce yourself, maybe they'll know why we have a new.
Yeah. Sneha, please introduce yourself to the millions of viewers that are fucking watching this podcast.
See, my only credential is that I'm a Bengali and I am supposed to know Satyajit Ray because it's like bachpan se dekha hua hai. And that's the thing, like most of the non-Bengali audience do not know these films because like people associate the Ray with art house movies and parallel cinema. But what I associate him is with all these fantasy films, these movies made for children. I think Sonar Kella was probably the first Ray movie that I saw. And that's the thing, I enjoyed it as a kid also, and I still enjoy it. And there's the beauty of, I think, Ray, like his movies appeal to all age groups. There's and especially I think this whole series, Feluda series, they are just made in such a nice and heartwarming way. Okay? Like everyone can associate with these movies, and they're simple, but also they're intriguing. So there's another movie to the Feluda series, but I still prefer Sonar Kella because, like you said, the kids were so amazing. Okay, and one of the things known about Ray is that he like his ability to communicate and connect with kids was great. That's why uski bahut sari movies mein, I think you will notice there are a lot of kids who've acted so well, like Pother Pachali and Sonar Kella, of course. So I rewatched it last week also, and I thought like ये तो like normal है. Rewatching Ray movies is like a normal thing now. But yeah, Sonar Kella is still one of my favorite movies. And so because it's like 100 years of Satyajit Ray, he last week was his 100th birthday. So a lot of Bengali, TV channels have been showing BTS documentaries from his movies and everything. So I think I was watching one yesterday, which was about Sonar Kella, and they mentioned how the tourism of Rajasthan increased after Sonar Kella released, because people in Calcutta were so fascinated with what is this place Jaisalmer and you want to visit it. And I think the cinematography was also very beautiful. Some of the shots were just amazing. I remember there's a silhouette shot when they're sitting on the station. So yeah, like Ray movies are pretty normal for us to watch on any weekend actually.
You all sit with like your family and watch his movies specifically because they are so family
Yeah,
oriented?
yeah. That's why my parents also enjoy watching this movie. Like last week only me, my mom, daddy were just sitting over on the weekend. We're like, chalo, let's watch this only. Because they're entertaining and they're like feel-good movies. Like the children movies, like not the other ones. They're like very heavy. And that's why I think like one of the reasons why I like Ray's fantasy films more than his like other movies is because like even though they're meant for kids, it's like Pixar movies. उनमें message कुछ ऐसे बहुत subtle होगा which is for the adults. So in this also, like greed is I think one of the themes, because which is why Mukul gets kidnapped, because the thieves are really greedy, because they think it's actually a fort made out of gold. So yeah, for me it was like rewatching again and reliving my childhood days.
That gives us enough validation that okay, we didn't do Charulata, we didn't do Pother Panchali. Chalo, theek hai, at least it's not. We didn't fool ourselves by doing Sonar Kella. So Gaurav, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, coming back to your question, I went in expecting a film that was heavy on emotion or was some sort of exploration, intellectual, emotional, food for my soul, all those sorts of things. And what actually met my eye was, of course, this simple pot boiler that that I hadn't seen. I hadn't seen this side of Satyajit Ray before in his cinema. So it was a new side for me also to see that he is capable of this, and this is something that he also was interested in. I mean, his Feluda books were quite popular, of course, like Neha was saying, and I was even in fact reading that he always said that his books were his actual means of income. He didn't really earn much through his movies, and this was a way of, I don't know, him maybe to sort of monetize his popular work. But
like, sorry to cut you. How many of y'all have read the Feluda movie, the books, the stories?
I have read the English versions of them,
Okay,
the books.
Cool.
I thought he was just a filmmaker.
Oh no! Oh my God, the things that he can do, he has done. Sorry. Oh my, he was a calligrapher, music composer, screenplay writer, you name it, and he's done it.
So just quickly, sorry Gaurav, I'm cutting you, but this is just getting so much interesting. I just want to keep asking questions. Did you notice the music in the film? It's from Mozart ka 25th Symphony, and it is like a rendition by Satyajit Ray himself. So he had this brilliant ear for music, and after this is what I've read, okay, because like I've been a big geek on him. So after Pother Panchali and a few of his earlier films, where he got people like Ravi Shankar, who were at that time world-renowned musicians, who were going abroad and doing shows and everything, he got them. But then after a point of time, he realized that these are not film musicians, because there is a difference between a performer and a musician who makes music for film. Because film you need music from this time to this time. You just can't go on playing. Okay, and then he realized, you know what, let me just do it myself. And I think that is a boss move. Matlab, who just decides ki chalo theek hai, I'll do the music from tomorrow, I'm going to do the music myself. Like, bro, 1 second, you've never done it before. Of course, you have a Bengali upbringing, you've been to Tagore and everything, but still to have that kind of, I just feel that Satyajit Ray in my mind is an image of confidence and of courage. Like he's like, he can do anything. So like, what do you all think? And I think just coming back to Gaurav, what you were saying, that probably he was looking to monetize his books from there. Did you actually feel that this, Gaurav asking you, did you actually feel that this was an accomplished detective film because you have a background in film? You watched Sherlock Holmes and you watched Byomkesh Bakshi and everything.
Yeah. I think we all have grown up on detective stories. It's a genre by itself, and we are the Sherlock generation. We've seen the Downey iteration and then the other TV show, and
Yeah.
we are familiar, I feel, with a very high standard of writing. Because, and this isn't something that this is I think this is purely because we are in this generation, and throughout the movie I was trying to remind myself that this comes from the movie. Sonar Kella comes from a different generation altogether. Those were times where films were written slightly differently, and I was trying to look at it through that lens, almost as if I was a kid in that generation, how would I feel? Because I don't think it would be fair for me as an audience to judge it based off the 2021 me, because I'm like, the films that we watch, even if it comes to a who done it, or even if it comes to a pot boiler, like recently I was watching Knives Out, where the twists and turns and the amount of
Oh,
research.
great movie, dude.
Exactly, right? I mean, the amount of research that goes into that sort of a thing, which is also a suspense, which is also somewhere a mystery or who done it of sorts. And I can see that Satyajit Ray here was going for that same thing. And I try to see it purely as a film that was made in that time, and for that I thought it did such a good job. It was like we keep saying, it was extremely simply written, it was lucid, but it never lacked. I didn't think that it would lack in. I thought it made up for in terms of heart and in terms of Ray's sort of technique and skill with it.
Something you, Gaurav, specifically, something you didn't like, can you, like, does it come to your mind while watching it? Okay, this I don't think I really like this.
So the thing with me is, and the thing with a genre like a pot boiler or a suspense or a some sort of a mystery film is, I always try to look at the logic of it. I mean, we all do. If it comes to a who done it, we're like, you know what, but he did this, oh, but that happened over there. And even here I couldn't help but ponder about the logic of it. you know Even when he sort of finds this scorpion on the street, one of the goons, and he sort of puts it in the bed of uh, uh, Soumitra Chatterjee's
Feluda.
sort of character. And even then I was like, okay, but at that point I was like, would that actually work? As a goon, like, is that a smart move? Like, do you expect a scorpion to actually sting him and he dies in that sense? So I was constantly over analyzing it. I was like, the smarts of these goons, I was like, you got to be smarter here, come on. Like, you got to think of a better way of doing this, like, get him properly. Like, even when the goons sort of push the doctor Hazra off the cliff, I'm like, there's a better way of killing him, because of course he'll survive, yaar. Matlab, of course he'll fall down, and of course he's gonna come back and bite you. So what I wouldn't say I didn't like, but the thing is, in a movie like this, I'm always drawn to the logic of it, and I'm always looking for like a smarter way of, oh, but why not this, and like finding some plot holes, finding some flaws in the plot of it. So in that sense, I think it's a limitation of the genre, and I find that in all of these films. But that was also something that sort of which I couldn't sort of get out of my head, basically. What did you all think?
Gaurav's analysis is so good, man. Like, I feel so stupid talking after he talks.
So think about it, Barod. I'll give you 5 minutes. Till then, Sneha, what do you think? Like something that you thought could have been better. I'm sure you watched it since your childhood, but something now that you are into, you've made your own films and all. You've been part of films.
I think in the इस चीज में I would agree with Gaurav, because हम लोग इतना Sherlock देख चुके हैं, especially the Benedict version, which is so like mind fuck हो जाता है देख के कि इतना कुछ हो रहा है. And यहाँ पे the story just starts and they've already told you that these guys have done it. Like मतलब ज्यादा कुछ है नहीं. And from what I've read, like I read the book long back. The screenplay is slightly different. The screenplay just gives away the the kidnappers right away in the beginning. The book was slightly different. So that's the thing, like some things like the whole scorpion plot, and after that even for me that part was also a little unbelievable, that पूरे रास्ते पे कांच के टुकड़े पड़े हुए हैं. Like how much glass do you need कि पूरे 2-3 किलोमीटर तक तुमने बस कांच के टुकड़े बिछाए हुए. But I think that would also be like उस time के हिसाब से to make a suspense thriller and to incorporate elements which would have been so out of the box, वो थोड़ा मुश्किल होगा probably. But I'm sure if this movie would have been made right now, uh, like a lot of plot points would have been very different. So yeah, like I would agree with Gaurav in this part, ki like as a suspense thriller, like there wasn't much suspense to it as much as the fact that this guy Feluda already is interacting with the kidnappers, but he does not know that these guys are the kidnappers. There was just a thrill in that portion. कि उसे कब पता चलेगा, when will he actually figure this out? That was the only thrill for me. But yeah, like Gaurav said, some things don't fit very well now because we've seen so many suspense thrillers and movies, and we know कि कौन से level तक जा सकता है. So yeah, that was like मेरे लिए भी वही flaw था probably.
So Mr. Barot, what do you think?
No, the thing is, so just like I have a question, maybe I missed it, but towards the end, was there more insight given into the kid as to was it actually his previous life or anything more? Was there anything more given? It wasn't, right?
No.
It flatlined. Huh?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that would be the thing that, I mean, besides what Gaurav said, which I didn't really realize till he said it. But yeah, because the film starts in in a little dark way. You know, like that kid is awake. He's not. You feel the kid is fucked up only.
Yeah.
But then the kid gets normalized. Like you used to start liking him as a character and all of that. And then towards the end, it just ends up that driver comes in, takes away the bad guy. You know, there was no more insight given into the kid's past life, and because the
Right.
whole story is based on that. So I think that was something I felt that was missing me, because that's what intrigued me in the first place, and that wasn't circled, like wasn't completed. I felt, but yeah, other than that, nothing else.
Like the whole parapsychology aspect could have
Yeah.
been a little more detailed.
Yeah, like even this guy, I forgot Chatterjee's character, when he was doing the detective stuff, it was very obvious detective stuff. I mean, again, this is based on our times. There wasn't much to do with his study of the mind. There was a little bit, but not that much, which could have been amplified a lot more.
Judgment is like deeply colored by the fact that we are
Of this generation.
kids who are the Avengers generation, you know, like our idea of a spectacle is just CG and is just the world ending is the sort of drama that we are used to. So when the stakes are so dramatically lowered here, it's a different way of sort of looking at it. It's a more so like I feel like we need to sort of look at it through the lens of someone who is almost like a kid, or you know, like a simpler time. And but I still feel like the emotion of it and the exhilaration of just sort of making this sort of film, or what it would have been at that time, it still hits me, you know. I can tell this at that point this film would have been path breaking, or in that sense.
So when I watched it for the second time, I just realized that I am enjoying it just as much, in fact, even more, because I already know what's going to happen. But I'm still having fun, you know, watching that hypnotism bit where he's showing the torch, he's showing Bukul's eyes from the side. It's a silhouette. Like I can feel, okay, you know, I can feel myself also getting a little hypnotized, and also the fact that it's cool, you know, that come on, you know, I can feel the character. I'm just trying to say that. But the point is that even if we are going back, say 40, 50 years, you know, to watch this film, I just feel that a good film, you know, really makes us as the audience watch it from the lens it wants us to watch it from. For example, I actually felt myself being a child while watching it. After 20 minutes, I stopped questioning all logic, and that's why I did not go get those questions. And I was happy to let it go. And I was happy to let all those little things. Also, this was my constant worry, you know, when I was watching it, that it seems too less than Sherlock. It seems too less than all that I've already watched. But what really, when I watched it for the second time, what stayed with me was, as Neha said, you know, we already know who the culprit is. there is no suspense as such, but there's a lot of drama. How will he catch him? So the point is that Ray has consciously kept us ahead of the detective, so we're not playing the detective. I feel that in the contemporary Sherlock and everything, we are watching the film and the series from Sherlock's point of view. So as he's discovering, we are also discovering. So we feel elated when he cracks something. So because we are the detectives now. Here we are having a God's point of view, where we know what's going to happen. These are just puppets, so that with that with that kind of a thing, still keeping the drama on and still keeping the thrill and the fun and the excitement, I think is a path-breaking thing, which makes it work for me and Barot also, who are not, like, for example, somebody like Barot, who doesn't care about kisne banai hai, who's Ray and all of that,
I think it was like you were saying, I think it was a conscious sort of decision for him. He could have easily made the film into a whodunit where, we are sort of trying to join the dots along with him, and finally there's a huge reveal at the end. But this happened at that point and this clue led here, and
And
all these sort
yeah,
of puzzle pieces sort of joined together. But I see that he's done this, and I think it was like that in the book. Sneha, maybe you could tell us if
Yeah, exactly.
was
That's why I said that he changed the screenplay. And also, even if you look at it, जो main दो culprits थे, उनकी शक्ल काफी देर तक दिखाते नहीं. I still remember that scene where they're just going through the newspaper and they're just showing POV shots. It was like, I think 15-20 minutes I think into the movie, जिसके बाद they actually showed the faces of these kidnappers. So, and also I think another thing about Feluda is that like which they like उन्होंने काफी initially ही दिखा दिया that he wasn't quite sold to this idea of reincarnation and parapsychology, because he guessed it pretty much in the beginning that just because it says golden fortress does not mean that it is made out of gold.
that's true.
There
And also
can
that
be,
telepathy wala part, when he
yes,
tells
exactly.
that is so cool. Yeah, go for it.
Exactly. Like he wasn't really sold off कि नहीं reincarnation probably हो सकता है, but just because he says it's a golden fortress, it is not made out of gold. There are a lot of other connotations to it. So yeah, I think that's what really works about the movie, that they take you on a journey with this kid. Like even like Feluda se zyada we associate more with Mukul because he's a kid, and also there's certain characteristics about Mukul. I think he's a pretty badass kid because the photographer is like, smile, you'll have a nice picture. Like, but I don't feel like smiling.
Yeah.
So that was like pretty in your face. And also like in the end, when he starts laughing, because initially his father points out that my kid does not smile anymore and he's not happy. So I think that was a good ending to the story, that Mukul is, finally free because he's seen the golden fortress, and now he's happy. He can be himself again. He just didn't want to go back to the golden fortress to achieve something. He just wanted to, revisit his past.
Yeah, I also think, Sneha, like you were saying, it brings out the themes also that Satyajit Ray was sort of going for, that like we are a country that's often obsessed with this. We give so much sort of gravity to our culture,
Superstitions,
our
reincarnations.
superstitions, our reincarnations, all of those things. And here, sort of, Ray draws you in with those things, and finally, at the end, sort of tells you that let's not put too much importance, or let's not, give give these things more importance than what is actually the rest of our life, basically. So I think that also speaks to the themes of what he was trying to go for in the film.
Yep. So I just quickly want to come to Jatayu. What do you think about him? He was a game changer for me, bro. Like, it was the time when Dr. Hajra is thrown down the cliff. For the first time in the film, we see blood. Okay, like for the first time, something really serious has happened. I'm like, yes, finally something, something life and death has happened. And then this guy enters, and I'm just blown. I'm like, bro, okay, like let me quickly share the two thoughts. And these two thoughts that I have about him are very contradictory. One is that he's very caricaturish, and the other is that I really love how realistically stupid he is. Like the fact that putting Jatayu with somebody else would not be as much fun, like putting somebody who's so larger than life and caricaturish. But when we're putting him in juxtaposition with Felu's character, who's just his opposite, who is so contained, I think that was that was giving me so much kicks, because we were cutting from this comic scene to that very serious scene of Hajra being operator and all of that, and then coming back here. I think that was very interesting. What do you all think?
Yeah, I think he was a very colorful character, and he had, yeah, again, he was slightly over the top, and he was comical, and he definitely, in fact, there were so many points in the film where I was surprised by the comedy, because it came out of nowhere. Like, one of the goons pushes this Hajra down the cliff, and then Mukul is like, "Where did he go?" And he's like, "Vanish!" And I laughed.
Yeah, same.
Vanished, sure. That's what you tell a 5-year-old kid. He vanished. So
And he believes it, and he comes back. That was so.
yeah, so I enjoyed these sort of comic moments that came out of nowhere and left me sort of grinning or laughing at what it was. But yeah, I mean, definitely he's one of the memorable characters in the film.
Bro, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. The only, what annoyed me now is that, and it's not just about this movie, but that, okay, if I'm seeing something that I'm not familiar with, like in this case, a Bengali movie, I don't know why are these fictional characters, why do so many of them look the same? 4 characters had a bald spot, had and I couldn't, for the first half, I couldn't make out who's. I'm like, did the bad guy come back or something like that? Like when Jatayu came
No,
back,
I
I thought he
had
was
this
the other
issue
guy.
as a kid also. I agree, because
Yeah.
as a kid, when I was watching it, I could not differentiate between the villains and Dr. Hajra or Jatayu.
Yeah, dude,
It-
why it's a fictional character? You could have made them look different for the sake of the viewer. Like, why do they? And this problem I've been having, like, even right now, I'm reading. You all have heard of the Stieg Larsson series, the girl with the dragon tattoo.
yeah.
So that is, again, that is based in Sweden. So the names are again a little confusing to us. And over there also, then, like, at least 5-6 names start with the letter H. And I'm always confused as to, and why? Like, you could have just made it different. Like, so the same thing irritated me in this movie also. But other than that, yeah, I agree with what you're saying about him being over the top. And I didn't think about the thing that you said, that the juxtaposition bit between this guy and the detective's character. Like, yeah, now it makes sense why he was introduced. It didn't occur to me in the first place.
Yeah, but I also so there were so many characters in this movie, and me, like, purely as a writer, I'm thinking it takes a lot for a person to balance all these characters and to justify all these characters in one film. Like, they need to have a purpose going for them. And I couldn't understand Jatayu's character purely as a writer. Okay, as a viewer, I enjoyed him, but as a writer, I'm like, but if this character was left out, the movie would go fine. I
Yeah.
agree, because I felt like, purely for economic writing reasons, I would have just left out this one character or given his traits to another character, and the movie would have still gone just fine.
Yeah, like the son was that Topshe, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
So Kushaj pointed out the juxtaposition between Feluda and Jatayu. Pretty heavy word for Jatayu. But there was a reason for this apparently. Like, they needed a character like Jatayu to simplify things for the audience, for the kids basically. And also, I think that is why novels and movies. He was supposed to simplify these complex theories for the kids. And another thing which I really like about Feluda is that even though Feluda and also Jatayu does not know a lot of things, but he owns up to it. He's very calm, and he's not patronizing him about explaining these things.
There
So I
is
think,
sarcasm, right? Like there's
yeah, of
also
course, there is a lot of sarcasm. So, but still, I don't think he's ever condescending, towards explaining things to Jatayu. And he was supposed to be basically the haddock to the Tintin and Snowy combination. From what I've read about the whole series, he was supposed to serve, serve as the comic relief to the stories. So yeah, but I do agree that he could have been left out of the script and everything. But he's a character that Bengalis are very fond of.
I would have
And
missed him. Come on, I'm not a Bengali. I would
yeah,
have missed him if he wasn't there.
yeah, and that's the thing. So when the actor who portrayed Jatayu he died, Satyajit Ray went out and said that I'm going to stop making Feluda movies now because I can't cast anyone else as Jatayu.
Oh, damn.
So he's made only two. Actually, Ray has made only two Feluda movies. This and there's another one. And after that, whatever you see is actually made by his son Sandeep Ray.
Okay.
And
How many
us-
movies like these have been made?
there are a lot of versions actually, but only two have been made by Ray himself. Baki sab
But the
Sandeep.
others have also been like hits only, as like Sonar Kella. Or were they ever box office successes?
They were like okay, average, not that great.
So I just
And
tried.
and they were not great specifically for this reason because see with Ray there's it's a classic. When you associate this movie with Ray, it remains as a classic. But when you see those movies right now, what his son has made, they lose that appeal of being a suspense thriller because of what you guys we were discussing. That because the stories are very simple. You can, like I've read almost all the Feluda books, and by the end of it, I could make out who has who's done it. So it lost its appeal eventually.
Okay. Okay. So also, like, I just wanted to bring you all back to that scene in the train where Feluda is there, Topshi is there, Jatayu is also there, and after having tea on the station, they come back into their compartment and they find Dr. Hajra sitting there, all bruised and with a shawl and everything, And this guy Jatayu is like, suspicious and all that he's saying, and Feluda doesn't give a fuck. And Topshi is also, looking at him. That moment, I don't know, this is just a very stupid thing, but I just want to put it out there if any of you all relate to it. That reminded me of Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban, where the train, people are going, the train stops and those Death Eaters come. And there is this, the Dementors.
Lupin is sitting right there.
Yes, bro. So I'm like, that's it, 1974, right? That's what you're talking about. But it could be me overthinking. So like,
and also the introduction of
J.K. Rowling is sitting and watching Sonar Kella.
Of course they do that.
Lupin fucking thing with.
So I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, come on.
No, I feel like you have a point, Kut, because even I feel like there are some Hitchcockian elements to the film. There are some I don't know this because Hitchcock also had this sort of mystery suspense sort of that he played with, and he often, even in Hitchcock films, he sort of gave you everything was right in front of you, right? Hitchcock's sort of famous line of "Tell me there's a bomb below the table," and that's how you create suspense, right? So I think he was going for something like that also in this film, and even something about it was also Spielbergian for me, when they were in the sand and they were suddenly these camels come and now they are like camel back riding and going through the sand. So I feel like those things really stuck with me.
The fact that you brought up Spielberg here is so interesting because, bro, we can do another episode on Ray and Spielberg because this is what I feel. Okay, Spielberg has stolen his whole style from Ray, and I'll tell you what he's stolen. What I think, okay, like my personal point. The way Ray introduces characters is through hands, is through close-ups of feet, hands, micro close-ups of these things that they do in action. And watch any of Spielberg's films, from E.T. to watch, those Raiders of the Lost Ark. All his intro shots of the characters are these little close-ups, and he juxtaposes those close-ups of somebody's hand with somebody else, somebody who's not important, looking at those hands. And why is that ring in that hand important? All of that, bro. I think that is so cool that you bring that out, because the fact that everybody is getting inspired from everywhere. Like, no shit, Hollywood is inspired by Ray. No shit, we can be inspired by Kurosawa. So yeah, Sneha, do you want to add something to that? Also, I just want to ask you, Sneha, is there one scene in the film that is your favorite, which is a children's scene?
I think the scene is towards the end when the fake Dr. Hajra takes Mukul to Sonar Kella. And this fake Dr. Hajra, it has been already established, is scared of peacocks for some reason. For a reason, he's scared of peacocks. and he points a gun towards the peacock, and it is in that moment that Mukul realizes that no, he is the actual evil person. Because kids have this way of figuring out, in general also, I think people who are evil towards animals are evil in reality. And it was at that point that Mukul realized that, oh no, he is an evil person, and he runs away. I think that is like one of my favorite scenes from the movie.
Nice. So next time, Gaurav, you coming home, you better be nice to my dogs. You better sleep.
In the edit, let's just superimpose your dogs here, like a huge picture of them. Everyone can be awe, and then they'll
Yeah.
hate.
But Sena, do you also have like a favorite scene in which there are kids?
I like the scene where the fake Mukul was saying the story. I felt so bad and so amused at the same time. Dude. I'm like, who is
Bro,
this
that one
kid, dude? I found him too cute.
I can
man.
sell-
He was so lost.
I can sell
Bichara.
Bengali language through that one scene. I'm like, bro, you don't want to learn Bengali? I'll tell you, it's the cutest language in the world. Watch this scene.
Yeah,
Classic Gaurav.
actually, I wanted to ask Neha. So, I feel like I lost something of the movie because I was reading the subtitles, and I feel like because even in the subtitles, I could tell that these are clever dialogues. But if I actually knew Bengali, I would know the context of where it's coming from in the Bengaliness of it. So, like if you could tell us something about the dialogue of it, like to a non-Bengali speaking person, have I lost something? Because I feel like I have.
ऐसे तो काफी चीजें हैं, but okay, so one of the things when Jatayu is introduced, right, he is speaking in Hindi. Okay, so this is a very Bengali trait actually, speaking Hindi where it is not required, like showing off your Hindi skills. And I think Feluda points out that like we are also Bengali, but you can keep continue talking in Bengali because Hindi, because it's very enjoyable. I think that was one moment that was as a Bengali I felt that even though like I was born and brought up in Delhi, I can speak Hindi very well, but as a Calcutta Bengali, that is one of the classic traits. Going somewhere and trying to speak in Hindi. But apart from that, I think like now that you're pointing it out, I really think that maybe because I know Bengali, I listen to the dialogues, I don't see the subtitles. It comes very natural to me. I understand all these things. But yeah, I can't think of anything specifically right now.
Also, guys, just trying to compare it to today's contemporary detective films, in which like whatever little I've seen, I've not seen much, but the fact that, don't you all think it's interesting that all the information that is revealed in the film, although it is a very simplistic film, a very children's film, all the important information that is revealed even to the detective, that we find out, oh fuck, something like who's the real Hajra, that this guy's an imposter. When we see that, it's through that register where he reads, it is Z, it is not J. That's where he fucked up. And I think there's more. Forget it, I can't remember. Like something like the sandstone bit, like the golden fortress wala thing. Yeah, Gaurav, you're saying something.
I was saying like one of the things, or one of the like things I couldn't get out of my head was, why didn't Mukul ever just tell them, like tell Feluda, or just confide in them that what, there was this other guy, the actual Dr. Hajra, and he went missing or something like that.
He tried.
Yeah.
He tried. Now that scene. Yeah. So in that scene, if you remember, where Feluda meets this imposter Hajra for the first time, they sit and all.
I remember.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kept thinking that what, the kid, why isn't he just talking? Like, just tell them.
Yeah, no, but I think the way the kid was made, it was justified why he didn't say
Yeah, anything. I think like as a 6-year-old kid, when someone says vanished, for you it is reality that maybe, oh really, he's gone.
And this guy wasn't a normal kid. Yeah, and Mukul was
Yeah, exactly.
Like logical, like,
he was
oh
all
yeah, fuck, this happened.
ditzy.
But listen, like just coming back to this point where we watched all Sherlock and everything, where they they take us through this journey, and in the end there is usually this monologue of the detective where he tells you, this was the story, this was the suspense, and I am the guy who's like solved it all, and that feels very cool. But over here, like something really stood out for me is that this guy is not talking. Feluda is not talking as much as other people. Sorry, Feluda. And whatever information is being revealed, it's being revealed visually, and I think that is something very important, because that is something that kept me hooked. I was not waiting to hear their dialogues. I don't know jack shit Bengali, but I was still so hooked when we saw Hazra and we saw, okay, now something's gonna happen. Now he's seen that. So what do you all think about that? That he
And also, I think there's a point in the movie when Jatayu is like, "What is happening? Please tell me." And he says, "I'll tell you, but at the right time." And uske baad bhi, he did not just give it out, give out the details. Like जितना भी जटायु उससे पूछ रहा था, वो उतने का ही जवाब दे रहा था. He was not giving out the whole thing together. He's just waiting for all of it, to come together. And I think there is this one moment when they're going through the desert and unke tires puncture ho jate hain, and that's when he says that now I know that we're going on the right path. So I think that moment was really nice. Finally the audience knows that okay, this is going somewhere.
But what do you think about this fact that he did not make Feluda the alpha detective and make him reveal everything at the end? Like exactly like what's happened at in Bomkesh Bakshi, which is like one of the Indian detective films. What has happened in all Downey Jr.'s Sherlock films, and mostly what happens is in the Benedict's TV series also, when he tells everything and he's thinking. And I think that Feluda was very human.
Feluda was actually based on Ray himself. Ray based the whole character of Feluda on himself, like physique, look-wise, and also the way Feluda used to think. So Ray incorporated all those elements into Feluda, and eventually that's why he wrote the story. And that's why he was so eager to direct this movie.
You want to elaborate on Barot can be Feluda what? What does that even mean?
I just meant that it was. You don't need to be extraordinary to be Feluda.
I think he was very extraordinary. Are you mad? I think he was. Thanks for fucking backhanded. I don't know if that was a compliment also. But I think he was extraordinary. Dude, to have such... He was a very renowned, whatever, parapsychologist or whatever, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't like... I get it. I totally agree. But my point
investigator, sorry.
He wasn't like a Sherlock who's like downright crazy, like an anti-social guy who he has those very eccentric traits which Feluda did.
You also have to realize that Ray wrote this book and the series essentially for kids. Like across the series, I don't think there's a lot of bloodshed when compared to other, suspense thrillers and movies. It was supposed to be for kids. It was supposed to be clean. It was supposed to be simple. I think that's why Feluda feels like a regular person. It's just that once in a while, he thoda show off kar deta hai ki, oh no, I am smart. But otherwise,
you remember that point you're talking about, Sneha, your point about he randomly start showing off was when the tires get punctured of the glass and he's like, everyone's a little wired, and then he just goes like, telepathy. And I'm like, where did that come from? And what are you talking about? And yeah, but I don't agree with what you guys are saying about him being normal. How was he? He was very extraordinarily smart.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't he?
Okay, you got it, cool.
No, even I got it. And even Soumitra Chatterjee's performance, I think we can talk about, because he really sold it to me. Like, he was that Bengali guy who is an investigator and a detective and super smart guy. I completely bought into it. I didn't for 1 second doubt him. And he definitely didn't come up to me as a normal person. Like, he obviously had a very high level of intellect, or like in terms of the potential to sort of
investigative skills. Yeah.
And also, I think because this was the first movie in the series, they established like little moments. This guy is actually a genius, especially when they go to this, really old uncle's place to figure out this, I think there was a sequence jahan pe unhe koi article dhoondna tha, koi newspaper article, because Feluda could not recall.
Hajra, the history of...
how he had caught two guys from Allahabad. And at that point, this uncle asks him some random question that who is this guy? And he shows off, oh no, this is actually this guy. Jisne, I think thumbprint se investigation karna start kiya tha, something like that. So I think there are little subtle moments where he gets to show off his intelligence.
Yeah, that's true. Cool, guys. I get your thing. Yeah. He was extraordinary detective. But I just felt he was so close. Yeah, like he was like, he was so. I don't think I can befriend a Sherlock. I think I can befriend a Feluda. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he had very, I think for me, बहुत Tintin vibes आती थी
Yeah,
मुझे
yeah.
Feluda से.
The film had it had a big heart. I keep saying that, but I feel like the emotions or even the characters were so pure and innocent, Like even in the start, I was just struck by there's this the Mukul guy, and it starts off with him sort of painting, and then his mother comes in and she's all like, "Oh, mera beta," and I'm like, "It's okay, he's just drawing in the night, But but then I'm sort of going away from the point. My point was how we cut to the credits, like he's just painting and we match cut to the credits with all these paintings and everything. And I just felt like, oh, I'm in the hands of a director who clearly, because the credits, the opening and the end credits tell you so much about a director, and the way that he did it, it sort of cemented me already and sort of drew me in completely from the start.
Yeah, with the Rajasthani music in the background, which at the starting I had no clue why the fuck is there Rajasthani music. And then when we actually go to Rajasthan, as Sneha said, this beautiful cinematography, like and those 2 times there are these regional songs. In a Bengali movie, there is a Rajasthani song. I mean, that is just courage. That's just...
I feel like I was reading about it that the music had this staccato to it, like a very rhythmical sort of a feel, like pop, 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 pop. And but I also felt like that somehow drew a parallel to later in the movie when half the movie happens on the train, and the same train tracks are going. It almost reminded me of the things to come or some sort of foreshadowing that he's trying to do even in the music. Almost like I'm gonna get a train and the train is also gonna go chuk 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 chuk, and I'm now gonna create a track just like this just for my own sake.
So cool, guys. So like, after watching this movie, did this change your perspective on Ray at all? Like, also from the point of not knowing Ray to getting to know Ray, and how do you think of Ray now, or from the point of knowing Ray in a different light, and now we see him in a different light? Has that happened for you all? For me, it has happened. So, asking.
I mean, I sort of said it right at the start that I always thought of his films of like having watched and being a fan of Charulata. I sort of felt like he has this so much depth in him to sort of explore humanity and to explore relationships and like really mind people and sort of get the juices out of them. And then this was a sort of film where it wasn't too much like you didn't have to sell your soul to understand it. It was just like, yeah, a nice fun pot boiler. So like I got to see this side of Ray also, which was fun. So that's my sort of answer to the question.
I didn't really. I mean, I didn't know him, so I don't have that much. But like, I usually don't tend to watch older films because we are this generation where we're so used to such convoluted plots and all. And usually, older films have a much simpler plot, so I don't like to watch them. But this one from the very beginning gripped me on. So, I mean, it was kind of very obvious that this guy is a legendary director. This guy's a legendary filmmaker. It was the only revelation, a very obvious revelation that came to me. That's it. Nothing else.
Cool. Sneha, go for it.
So I'm not just saying this because I'm a Bengali and I've grown up watching Ray movies, but I think one of the greatest things about a good filmmaker is that they transcend through time, generation, and all these things. And that's the thing, like, even if Rideep Barot this is his first Ray movie, he still enjoyed it. Okay, and his reason is completely valid of not watching an older movie because times have changed. Like, one of the first thing that puts us off is that, arey, video quality aise kyun hai? Dialogues aise kyun hai? The pacing of the movie, everything has changed so much. But I think that's the beauty of Satyajit Ray and his movies. They transcend through time. Aap abhi bhi dekhoge, it feels fresh, it feels nice, and it feels new. Like, it feels very different from what is going around. And I think, which is why I think he is so renowned. And as an intro, like, even if this is your first Ray film, I'm sure it intrigued you a little to watch more of his movies, to see ki bande ki range kya hai.
She is already selling Ray. She already wants us to watch. For sure, yeah, go.
Yeah, that's not. So from Sonar Kella to something like Pother Pachali, and even like other fantasy films, like one of his movies, which is also another favorite of mine, is the Hero Krajat Deshe, which is about a fascist government, and you watch it and you realize, oh shit, this is exactly what is happening in India, in not just India, all over the world right now. The political scenario is exactly what is happening right now. So I think that's the beauty of his movies. And even though I'm a Bengali, I also haven't seen a lot of movies because I keep rewatching his, like, the movies that I am familiar with, the movies that I like. And I agree, some of his movies are too deep for me also. So, but yeah, then he makes movies like this, which is light and heartwarming, and like a feel-good movie.
Just one last little thought I want to share. It's not mine, it's somebody else's, and that somebody else is this legendary filmmaker, this legendary Japanese filmmaker called Akira Kurosawa, who has said that not having seen the cinema of Ray is like being on Earth and not having seen the sun and the moon. So even if you're a film geek, you're not a filmmaker, you are, then you should. But even if you're just a layman, try starting with Sonar Kella. It'll be a great watch.